Welcome back to another edition of NutriRebel Red Pill Edition, where we try to make integrative ideas great again. Integrative, not simply isolated, especially for politicians to sell specific ideas for votes. But that's what's happening here in Vancouver, British Columbia, where this 47-year-old guy, they say he won a seat in municipal government, and they say he called himself a democratic socialist, but he also called himself a communist as well. Not much difference between socialism and communism. It's all pretty sounding words for ugly things, but anyway, here's the lowdown. And
a self-proclaimed communist and far-left activist has won a Vancouver City Council by-election. Sean Orr ran on a platform rooted in democratic socialism, which includes defunding the Vancouver Police Department.
The most serious mistake that could be made here today is to blame free market capitalism for this problem. This has nothing to do with free market capitalism. This has to do with a managed economy, an inflationary system, corporatism, a special interest system.
yeah, and when we all get older, we have a history. When I was younger, I used to participate in a student-run organization at university. When it first started 50 years ago, it was more moderate and unbiased. But when I joined, they spread to Canada, and the Canadian chapters were staffed mainly by communists. And it's very popular in universities in Canada, especially socialism, communism, same thing. They all claim it's a big long story, but you'll see. If you look up Ralph Nader and the organizations that he founded, it was pretty interesting. But the main point that Ron Paul, the previous politician I was showing you, there's different schools of economic thought, and they don't teach these things in universities. Therefore, they keep students in the dark. And what they do is they push government Keynesian economics. That's a school of thought where the government controls everything, practically everything. Managed economy, not much different than communism. But they like to put a different label on it, but that's a big, long story. Look up different schools of thought of economics. I was a really confused person. There's a lot of confused people, even in their 60s and 70s.
Halting all cooperation with Canadian border authorities to shield illegal immigrants, and advancing land-back policies to transfer municipal land to Indigenous groups. Orr has also publicly claimed that parents have no rights over their children when it comes to gender identity, and supports schools hiding the gender transitions of children from their families.
Yeah, and like I was saying, they don't teach these things in school. Therefore, a lot of young people tend to fall to communism. There's a lot of these groups out there, and they don't tell you that communism is not love. Communism is a hammer which we use to crush the enemy. And that's Mao Zedong's quote. He's a former dictator of China in the 1960s. He murdered over 60 million people in China. This quote suggests that communism is motivated not by love or empathy, but by confrontational and forceful stance against those viewed as enemies. It compares communism to a metaphorical hammer, underscoring a militaristic mindset aimed at crushing and eliminating opposition. The statement points to the coercive characteristics of communism, emphasizing its emphasis on conflict rather than cooperation or mutual understanding. And you see a lot of young people these days, if they see an opinion they don't like, they immediately they try to bash it online. Or I even ran into a young person 6 years ago, and he just tore my idea right up on the paper. He didn't like what I was saying. Whenever it may be, if it goes against what the crowd thinks is wrong, they just tear it up immediately. This is what a lot of young people are being taught in schools. And does that guy look very healthy to you? Does he look very healthy? He doesn't look very healthy to me.
Children.
I'll go back to the image here.
Free municipal land
Oh, where is it here?
to Indigenous groups. Orr has also publicly claimed that parents have no rights over their children when it comes to gender identity, and supports schools hiding the gender transitions of children from their families.
There it is. Okay, no. The image is coming. Here, there it is. Does that guy look very healthy to you? The self-identified communist who believes parents don't have rights over their children have won a Vancouver City Council by-election. So Canada is turning that way now. Because a lot of young people were trained that, especially the older people too. For generations it's been happening.
He has praised North Korea as a real example of communism and dismissed the NDP as too moderate. Now, you might be wondering why this story made the news. Well, I did it for two reasons. First, I included it to remind Canadians that people pushing this insane ideology are organized.
I'm voting socialist because it's unequivocally about defunding the police, forcing landlords to adapt to climate change, freezing the rents, and keeping schools safe with actual viable technology.
They get everything confused. Who's going to make the technology if they get rid of all these things that they claim? They're very confused people, very confused people. And they're basically going with the quick fix answer, which is smash everything.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock, when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt.
This guy was a communist propaganda agent. And I actually visited his grave a couple times. He's in my home city of Windsor, Ontario. That's where his grave is. He lived there.
They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people.
Yep.
Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality.
So all these people calling themselves communists are basically what Stalin called useful idiots. They're help furthering the cause of communism, and then once they're no longer needed, they just eliminate them. And this is what happens to Nikolai Kondratyev. He invented the Kondratyev wave to explain. His research on long-term economic cycles clashed with the ideology of the Soviet government, leading to the perception of him as a threat. He faced multiple arrests and trials, and his ultimate sentence of 10 years in prison was swiftly followed by an execution on the same day. So he tried to explain how economic cycles work, and Stalin killed him. This is what happens. So we have to be careful, because these people are dangerous. They don't even realize
The
it.
most serious mistake that could be made here today is to blame free market capitalism for this problem. This has nothing to do with free market capitalism. This has to do with a managed economy, an inflationary system, corporatism, a special interest system.
Yeah, there you go. It's corporatism. It's not capitalism we have, but many people think it is. They're just lumping it all together for easy, quick sound bites, easy, quick thinking. And you talk to these people, ask them the details, they don't know the details. And then they start attacking you. Anyway, I hope you find the work I'm doing here interesting. I'm trying to cover topics to open up people's minds.